We should have just posed for a picture. All right, we'll get started since, like I said, we're gonna do this very informally. I'm Rhonda Smith, the Associate Dean, Faculty and Staff Affairs at Rutgers Robert Johnson Medical School. And today I'm gonna talk a little bit about me, which makes me very uncomfortable. My jobs versus my career, how I got there, my education, my career path, the roles I'm currently in, finding my passion. I'll talk a little bit about the skills and characteristics that are important to me in this field. So a little bit about me. I'm all of these things, but I'm also a human resource professional. That's when you think about Associate Dean of Faculty and Staff Affairs, you kind of say, what's that? What does that person do? It's really HR. I do a lot of HR work for the medical school. So I was saying in the last presentation, this little piece was supposed to kind of flash, and none of my animation is working today. But so when you think about a dream job, like what is that? What's your dream job?
I'm not sure yet.
You're not sure yet. What's your dream? You already
Forensic pharmacist.
You want to be a forensic pharmacist. Wow, that's exciting. What led you to that? How'd you get there?
Oh man, I went through many different career paths. I wanted to be an astronomer, I wanted to be a geologist at one point, but then I also really liked medicine, but I didn't want to do the years of training to be a doctor. So I was like, a PharmD would be more achievable, and I think that would be fun because there's so many different branches.
Okay. So how did you exclude the others?
What financial reward it would get me, and whether I'd actually enjoy doing it or not.
Yeah. So I think that's the key between a job and a career, right? So a job is we get up in the morning, we go, we punch the clock, we do our hours, we go home, we leave it there, we pick it back up on Monday, right? It's something that kind of makes the ends meet, right? We pay our bills and that's it. A career is something that gives you passion. You're excited every morning when you wake up, and I can't wait to do it. Now, I love my job. I can't say I wake up every morning and say, oh, I can't wait to get there. But it's a passion. You know, this is where, like, this almost like my calling, right? It's my calling. And so I found, it wasn't always like that, right? I had to get there. So I did a lot of jobs until I figured out what my passion was. And so, what do you think you need to do to get to that career? Like what goes into kind of figuring out what that passion is? What do you think?
Trial and error.
Trial and error. That's what a lot of us, yeah. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the same, just trying different things.
Trying different things, talking to a lot of different people, being exposed to a lot of different people. What I'll tell you, and I forgot to share in the first session, but wherever you go in the journey, always have a mentor. Always have a mentor, and never be afraid that you start off, I can't do this, I don't like it. So we're gonna talk about my journey, how I got here, right? I did 4 years, Rutgers University, Newark. When I started off, the first thing we think about that are exposed to is usually our parents. Like, what do our parents do? And we either rule it out, or we say, yeah, maybe. So my mom was a nurse. So I was drawn to healthcare, and I was a candy striper, which like I see your forehead, when the world was candy striper, it's way before your time. Candy stripers were volunteers in the hospital, and they called us candy stripers because we all wore this kind of vest, that kind of this smock tied here, and they were in red and white stripes, so we looked like little candy canes. So they called us candy stripers. But I walked around, I made sure patients were okay, made sure they had their menu. And I'm like, I like this. I like being in the hospital environment. And so, okay, I'm gonna be a doctor. My mom's a nurse. They always tell you to be better than your parents. I'm gonna be a doctor. So I started, I was top of my class in top 5% of my class in high school, National Honor Society, like doing my thing in high school. So I'm gonna immediately think, college is gonna be a breeze, gonna rock it. Well, I made the mistake, two things. I made the mistake of not going away and staying home. And made the mistake of taking biology. Okay, so biology was required, or you had to take a science. Biology, I had to dissect a pig. And when I had to dissect the pig, the smell was so bad, the formaldehyde was so bad, that ended my medical career. I couldn't see past that smell. And so I barely passed the class because I had my girlfriend and I was like, okay, I'll do all the book work and you do the dissecting and you tell me what I need to know. But that didn't work out for me because I had to pass the class. So I got a D. Somehow still managed in 4 years. But the other part about being local and driving back and forth, not staying on campus, I had a lot of too much time on my hands. And so my friend, we were in Newark, and we were downtown Newark, and they had lots of stores, and I love to shop. So you probably don't remember Hanes, probably before your time, but it was Hanes and then it was Macy's. And I spent a lot of time in Macy's when I probably should have been in the library. I also had a part-time job. So I want to make the money. So I was working a lot of hours, doing too much shopping, and not really focusing on school. Still managed to finish in 4 years, but my GPA was awful. Like I was even ashamed of my GPA. So, but I passed. So when you finish school I ended up going, I knew medical, MD wasn't gonna be in my future. My dad was in business, so I got a bachelor's degree in business. Not really, didn't wanna do business, right? I don't wanna be a salesman or anything. So I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew I still liked healthcare. So I applied for a job and got a job in home care. So I was a home care coordinator. I'd call the nurse and say, did you see Mrs. Susie today? Make sure Mrs. Susie's wound is okay. Oh, she needs a home health aide. I'm gonna send a home health aide over there to make sure, she's showered or whatever. I hated it because I wasn't dealing directly with the patient, right? And that was where I really wanted to be involved in. How do I improve patient care, right? And I mean, patients were being taken care of, but I hated the way they treated me. I just hated that place. So fortunately, my mother was working at the time for Newark Bethesda Medical Center, and she moved into a community clinical work. So we had a big blue van that we went out to the community to go see patients. I loved it. It's bringing the patient care to the community. I love community service. I love, doing that kind of stuff. So I'm fortunate enough to get hired there to do, she was community clinical services and I was director of community services. Our offices were right next to each other. We would sit in meetings together. It was hard not to say mom in the meetings, like Miss Smith. All right, so I really enjoyed that work. While I was there, I started enrolled in a master's program. And I enrolled in public administration. I probably should have did health administration, but I felt at the time that public administration gave me a more broader perspective. It wouldn't tie me into just health if I realized that there was something else I wanted to do. So I was there here, loving it, thought going to health fairs every weekend, just really engaged in the community and healthcare. I loved it. But after 9/11, I got laid off because when programs get cut, the first programs that go are the community programs. So in between here and here, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Still trying to find myself. And I started taking cake decorating classes at Michael's. So my husband's like, what are you gonna do with cake decorating? I don't know, we're gonna make cakes. So I made cakes. I would buy, he was like, if you bring one more of those little pieces, because you buy all those little assortment little things. He's like, Rhonda, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. He's like, well, you can't keep cake decorating, because then I was baking the cakes, then you gotta eat the cakes that you bake, right? So you can't do all of this. So I enrolled in doctorate school. No clue why. Just like it felt like the natural progression, right? I had a bachelor's, had a master's. This is spelled wrong. Always make sure you check your spelling before you present slides. So don't hold me accountable to that. But I went and got my doctorate degree because I felt like it was just kind of something to do. Still not knowing what I want to do, but I knew I wanted to be in health, so I went to health sciences. And then, while there, I started working at a nonprofit, but I knew I really wanted to be in healthcare. So at the time, UMD&J, You probably don't remember UMDNJ because we merged with Rutgers back in 2013. I applied for a position in the Institute for Elimination of Health Disparities. I loved the title, catchy title. Yep, sounds good. Did a lot of good work there. I really enjoyed the work there, but it still wasn't my passion. But while I was there, I got recruited to right across the street, New Jersey Medical School, which was also part of UMDNJ, to run a cancer disparity grant. Really enjoyed that work, but while I was doing this, I got recruited again. And at this time, I'm heavy in my doctoral work. I lived in Piscataway. I was going to Newark every day for those 2 jobs. And the person who was working with us while I was in this role, the IT person who was helping us do a lot of our technical work for this project, said, I got a job, want to know if you're interested in it. It's in IT. IT? I don't have an IT background. It's like, I don't need you for your IT background. I want you for your management experience. And that was the first time I learned that you don't have to know everything about the job you're going into. All I needed to do, and I learned some of the IT technology throughout the way, but all I needed to do was surround myself with the people who had the knowledge. Because I can manage people. I just didn't have that one expertise. So I took the job, frightened, shaking in my boots, but I took it anyway. So while I was here, we were gonna merge, UMDNJ was merging into Rutgers. What the dean said is, I need a project manager that can manage this integration. So my boss says, I know somebody. So lo and behold, I became the project manager for the integration, but I still had my other responsibilities. Down the road, my IT director leaves, and the dean says, I need you to take his role. So now I'm over all of IT, and I'm managing the integration into Rutgers. Then he leaves, the dean leaves, no, before then. Then his chief of staff and chief nursing officer leaves. And he says to me, I need you to be the chief of staff, my chief of staff. And by the way, are you interested in going to nursing school? Because I need somebody to be the chief nursing officer. I was like, that's where I draw the line. I'm not going back to school. At that point, I had my PhD. I'm done. I'm done learning. My brain can't handle anymore. So I was the chief of staff, and then a new dean came in because he left, and I realized I couldn't do chief of staff anymore. It was just too much on my plate. So then I was the executive director of strategic initiative, just over IT. Well, then the COO leaves, who did all the staff human resources stuff, and they said, we need you to take the staff. So I have IT and staff. So then, I had IT and staff, and then there was another colleague of mine who was faculty affairs and operations and facilities. That made no sense together. IT and staff made no sense together. So what they did was they made me associate dean of faculty and staff, so I had them both. So working at the medical school, what that means is I oversee all faculty onboarding. So like the doctor that you heard earlier, he comes and he says, I want a job at the medical school. And so I work with the departments to say, is he qualified for this rank, this title, this amount of compensation? When he's ready to be promoted, I'm gonna see his package again. If he does anything that he shouldn't be doing, we discipline too. I do the same for the staff. So I'm involved in every aspect of the human resources part of the job. I am also involved in a lot of strategic initiatives for the school and projects. I do a lot of special projects for the dean. So, here are my current roles, and I think I mentioned them briefly, how they intersect. So I'm the Associate Dean of Faculty and Staff Affairs. I also teach in the Blaustein School. I teach 2 classes there for students interested in health administration, and I'm also an assistant pastor. So these connect constantly. So from here, I have my students volunteering and interning at the medical school. This job allows me to be able to do both of them, because first of all, if I didn't have the grace of God and I didn't have prayer life, I wouldn't be able to do this job, because undergraduates can be, not you, you're gonna be the best undergraduate student, but some undergraduate students can be a little challenging, and it allows me to do my job. So because, like I said, the medical school has a whole host of careers, and I'm so glad Ms. Hub, I keep Jairus always corrects me. It's like Miss Hubler. It's not Mrs. Hubler, Mom. It's like, okay, it's Miss Shula. But reminded me that we have all hosts of jobs in the medical school. And I never mention the library. I have to make sure I remember. But we have soup to nuts because we're a medical school. We're just like any other organization. When you say medical school, what's the first thing you think we have? What's the first thing you have to be a school? Teachers. That's what everybody says. You have teachers. Well, we have teachers, but we're medical school. So we have doctors that teach students. We have doctors that treat our patients. We have nurses, housekeeping. We have everybody in the medical school, all types of careers. Scientists, we have pharmacists. We have it all as part of the medical school. So it's a huge opportunity for a variety of different fields. Human resource specialists, there's a shortage of them. There's not enough people interested in doing human resources. So if it's something you're interested in, you should really consider it. And depending upon the level of human resources that you're interested in, it could be very lucrative. So this was supposed to be a video that shows my day. I sit in meetings probably 80% of my day. And then you gotta figure out when we do work. So I work a lot of hours. I work nights. The dean has texted me twice today. I have to call her if it's urgent. Now I do tell people, it's like my work isn't life-threatening. So I'm not a surgeon. So you don't have to call me on the weekends or in the wee hours of the night. But if something's happened, so I get calls, somebody got hurt in the workplace, or if there was some conflict, because our providers work all hours of the day, so I do get called for that. But for the most part, I can make my hours. Finding my passion. So how did I do it? I went that long road that I showed you before, and some days I'm still trying to figure out if this is really, really what I want to do. My true passion would be to not have to work and to do homeless outreach, because I have a passion for the homeless. So that would be my true passion, and I'm trying to figure out how I can make all of that work. But it's really what was driving me, right? That was what was leading, what I was being led by. And I pray about everything, and I don't make any decisions lightly. I prayed for God to direct my path, because there were lots of opportunities presenting themselves to me, and I didn't want to make the wrong move, and I didn't want to be stuck, if you will, in a position that I wasn't going to want to do long term. So while I don't, I could tell you that I wake up every morning like, I just can't wait to get there. That doesn't happen, but I do enjoy the work that I do. I don't want to say I don't want to get there, because every day is different. Every single day is different. I can go in one day and say I have my work planned. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on this. And you get a call first thing in the morning that this person has called out late 10 times and we need to address it. Or a faculty member has cursed at a staff person and you need to address. So every day. Or we had a breach and somebody has looked at their own patient medical record. And so every day is a challenge. But that's the part I like about it. I don't like that I don't get my work done that day, but every day I have to think about how am I going to deal with this situation. So, these are, I would tell you that these are the key characteristics of my role. And I'll tell you the most important one is in blue. You have to have integrity. And people know that they can't call me and ask me to do something that I'm not comfortable with, because I'm not going to do it. We have a wonderful working relationship now with Robert Wood Johnson Hospital, and we're partners, but everything I do has to be in line with the law, in line with policies. I don't stray from this. I uphold my integrity, and I make sure I'm ethical. There was a time in our university where people actually went to jail for doing things that were unethical. So I don't uphold those practices. These are my top two, and I can stand proudly and say that I try to uphold that. Great leadership skills, just like I told you, I was over the IT department, had no IT experience, right? So it's the leadership skills that I was able to convey that allowed me to be promoted and not apply for any of the jobs that I've had. Conflict resolution, you can only imagine in human resources there's gonna be conflict. You're always gonna have to resolve some issues. Empathy, you have to listen to people and really understand and be compassionate. Everybody has a life, everybody has needs, everybody has concerns, and so we have to figure out how to be empathetic. And then an active listener. So, real quickly, because I want to have a couple minutes for some questions, but these are just some key skills that I think are important as a human resource professional. And then if you were interested in that area, these are some of the things that I would tell you to make sure you go after. At the end of the day, keep calm, study hard, and enjoy the journey, because the journey is short. Like, I cannot believe I did. When you think about 4 years, like, oh my God, I can't go to school for 4 more years. It'll be done before they say time moves really fast. It's fast when you're having fun and when you're not. So why not have fun during the journey and make sure you enjoy it? And then find your happy place. That's my happy place. This is Cancun. I go there every year with my family. And that's my happy place. That's where I try to let all my worries float off into the water and enjoy life. Because you only get one. So can I answer any questions for you?
How's scheduling? Like, do you sleep at all?
So for me, I don't sleep a lot because my brain never shuts. I'm always worried about, oh, I didn't do this today, or oh my God, I gotta get this done. So I don't sleep a lot. My husband said, like, now I'll take a melatonin or something to get me to sleep, because my brain just goes and goes and goes. So yeah, my sleep life is chaotic. Yeah. Anything else?
How do you manage being a mom and doing that?
Yeah, that's the challenge. It's hard having a younger kid because he has, I try to sit with him and do his homework and make sure that he's succeeding in school, and he has his own challenges, and I work long hours, so it's hard. It's hard on him. It's hard on me. Even when I work from home, I may not log off till I'll make myself log off by 6 so that I can feed him dinner. But I try to start getting him ready for bed at 7. So that's an hour to review homework, have dinner, ask about his day. So it is a challenge. So I do try to, there are certain days where I'm logging off at 5 o'clock, or I'm logging off at 4 because I need to be there for my son. And so it's a challenge. It really is a challenge, which is why I waited until I had my doctorate degree to have my kid, because I couldn't figure. I know people do it all the time. People go to school, raise families, work. I couldn't imagine how I could do it. So I waited, and I had him very late in life, and that's another problem. Like, I'm too old for this to have a second grader. But it's a challenge. It's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. But I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So you'll enjoy pharmacy school. What is it? 5 years? 6 years? 5. And then if you want to specialize in a particular area, you have to do more.
Yeah, I'm assuming, because then I don't go forensic route, I'll go the psychiatry route, and so it's another degree probably.
Yeah.
Law school.
Is it a 5-year program?
Yeah, 5-year program, and then I guess you could go back in for seconds.
Yeah, so I'm glad you know where you want to go and you kind of focus. I just want to tell you though, if you get there and that's not what you want to do, don't be afraid to say, not for me. Because if you could find out early, that's great. I wasted some years still trying to find myself.
Yeah, I don't even know if I really want to, but it's something I'm doing right now. So I have something at least to march towards,
right,
in case I don't lose focus.
Right, and I think all of us go in with this idea, and some of us stick through it because we've gone too far, we've taken too many of the courses, we don't want to be there an extra year. And And I would say, I wish I had taken the time to really be thoughtful about my future. And I was the same way, right? I want out here 4 years. I don't want to be here more than 4 years. And now 4 years is really, nowadays, 4 years, most people go more than 4 years. But I was adamant I was getting done in 4 years because I didn't want to be in school anymore. And then I went back for what felt like 20 more, but, and it's expensive. So, it's like, I only want to go 4 years because I don't want it to cost any more money. But at the end of the day, everything is in, when you retrospect, when I look back, I wish I had done things different. And so I try to help other people realize that it's okay to say, I don't want to do this. And if I have to take some more electives to get comfortable, to figure out what I like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I see it when I teach the undergrads in health administration. I see a lot of people who are going pre-med taking my classes because they want to understand both sides of it. If I want to be a provider, maybe I want to open my own practice. I want to understand the business side of it too. A lot of our docs go back and get their MPAs for that reason. So there's nothing wrong with kind of taking your time to really be thoughtful about it. And you still have some time.
Oh,
To get
yeah.
exposed, you have some time. Yeah. So would you ever think about doing what your parents do?
No.
No, so off the bat, right? That's usually where first we were exposed, and it's either yay or nay.
Yeah. That was an account, and I said no. He worked so many hours, I never saw it.
Right. So you knew right away that that was something you didn't want to do. You ruled it out. Yeah. Like my husband, he has a plumbing business. He's a plumber. He's like, Tyrus is going to be a plumber. Tyrus is going to be what Tyrus wants to be, not what you want him to be.
Yeah.
If he turns out he wants to be a plumber, great, but it's going to be his decision. So, but I wish you guys all the best.
It's
Really
really
do.
good.
I have shirts for you. These are small, medium, large, extra large.